I bought the cabin because I thought silence was something you could own. After 10 years working in the city, sirens, car horns, and neighbors who shouted through walls, I just wanted quiet. The cabin sat 3 miles down a dirt road, surrounded by thick pine forest and a lake that looked black even in daylight. It wasn't supposed to feel lonely. At first it was perfect. Coffee on the porch each morning, the sound of the wind pushing through the trees, and the feeling that time had slowed down. But isolation changes your hearing. When there's no traffic, no chatter, you start to notice the tiny things. The crack of a branch, the shuffle of leaves. Every sound becomes a sentence you can't translate. The first strange thing happened my second week there. Around midnight I heard laughter outside. Quick, breathy, like someone trying to whisper while giggling. It was so faint I thought maybe I'd dreamed it. But when I looked through the front window, I saw the outline of something white between the trees. A person standing still. I stared for a long time, waiting for my eyes to adjust. The figure didn't move. I told myself it was moonlight catching a birch trunk and went back to bed. The next morning, I found shoe prints in the mud by the porch. Big ones, men's size, deep enough to show whoever it was had stood there a while. I called the nearest sheriff's office, 15 miles away. The deputy who came was friendly, bored. He said hunters sometimes wandered near properties out here. Maybe someone drunk or lost. He told me to lock up and left me with a business card that smelled like cigarettes. 2 nights later, the laughter came again. Louder, closer. It woke me up around 1 a.m. I got out of bed, grabbed my flashlight, and stood by the window. The beam of light caught movement near the tree line, a flash of red. Not blood, not fabric from a jacket. It was round, floating, a balloon. It drifted lazily between the trees, then snagged on a branch and burst with a soft pop that echoed much longer than it should have. I didn't sleep again that night. By morning, I'd convinced myself someone was messing with me. There was a tiny town about 6 miles away, a diner, a gas station, a hardware store, and a group of local teenagers sometimes drove the back roads after dark. Maybe I was the new haunted cabin guy. I went into town that afternoon to grab a few things and mentioned the noises to the cashier at the diner. She gave me a look that made my stomach sink. "You up near the old Miller property?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah," she said quietly. "You're not the first to hear that." When I asked what she meant, she just shrugged and changed the subject. That night, I left the porch light on. The woods looked calmer that way. Around midnight, I poured myself a drink and sat in the living room reading. That's when I heard the porch steps creak. One step, then another. The cabin walls were thin, every sound vibrated through them. I killed the lamp and waited. My heartbeat was so loud I could hear it in my ears. Then slow tapping on the glass, 3 times. I crept toward the window and peeked from behind the curtain. At first all I saw was my reflection. Then my eyes adjusted. And there he was. A clown. He stood inches from the window, face painted bone white, smile slashed red from ear to ear. The porch light flickered and glinted off a small silver bell pinned to his collar. His eyes were dark, not painted, not human dark, just endless. He tilted his head, pressing one gloved finger to the glass like he was asking for silence. I stumbled backward, knocking over my drink. When I looked again, he was gone. I called the sheriff's office, hands shaking. They promised to send a patrol car, but no one came for an hour. By then, I'd locked every door and sat on the floor with my rifle across my lap, staring at the doorknob. When the deputy finally arrived, he checked the porch and found footprints again, same size as before. But this time they didn't stop at the steps. They circled the cabin, twice, then vanished into the woods. He stayed polite, but I could tell he didn't believe me. Said maybe I'd seen a reflection or some local prankster in a Halloween mask, but Halloween was still 2 months away. The next day I found something nailed to a tree by the edge of the property. A child S drawing on yellowed paper. Crayons had faded, but the shape was clear. 3 stick figures standing under a red balloon. The one in the middle had a white, round face. I burned it in the fire pit. That night I left every light on. Around 3 a.m., I heard the laugh again. Louder than ever, right outside the window. Not playful anymore. gasping, choked. I raised my rifle, but before I could move, a second sound came from behind me, a thump on the back door. Then the front porch creaked again. He was circling me. I aimed toward the window, but all the bulbs in the cabin flickered and went out at once. Total darkness. The only light was the moon spilling through the window. And in that light, just for a heartbeat, I saw his reflection standing inside the room behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Empty air. The door still locked, but on the inside of the window glass, where his face had been, a faint red smear curved into a smile. When the power came back a few seconds later, I ran out to my truck and drove until the gas light came on. I slept in the parking lot of the diner until morning. The deputy went back to the cabin with me later that day. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. The back door latch had been broken from the inside. He didn't have an answer for that. I sold the place a week later, packed what I could fit into the truck and never went back. Sometimes when I'm driving late at night, I still catch flashes of red in the corner of my vision, like a balloon drifting just above the tree line. I tell myself it's taillights, or the glow from a distant radio tower. But once, about a month after I left, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a single Polaroid picture of my old cabin, taken at night. The porch light was on, and there was a figure standing by the window. Even in the grainy photo, I could see the painted grin. And in the bottom corner, written in shaky black ink, were 5 words. "You forgot to lock up."